right, Coffee with Gaz here with Paul Diaz Jr. What's going on, Paul?
Not much, Lewis. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm looking forward to this and seeing you guys on social media all the time. It's great. So I'm excited.
No, I appreciate. Well, I appreciate getting on. You know, the thing is, it's usually Coffee with Gaz, but it's 4 o'clock here. It's 1 p.m. over there. I'm more closer to wine than I am to coffee. So, are you doing the after lunch?
I do the 2 o'clock espresso. So I have my little cafecito waiting for me at 2 o'clock. I'll go make it over there in the kitchen. So I definitely need that boost around 2 o'clock after lunch. You know,
I'm with you. I'm with you. But once I go to 4 p.m., 5 p.m., it starts. My next adventure is gonna be Gaz and Bougie. So that's when we start drinking wine and we start recording.
I mean, I could start drinking that too. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and we have some great wines here in California. I mean, I'll have some. I'll bring some. We'll have a drink over Zoom.
Well, my thing is, it's 2020, so I think it's 5 o'clock anywhere is out the door. It's just 2020, so I think you're allowed to have a cocktail anytime, man. We're gonna.
I agree. We need it this year. That's for sure.
Well, look, honestly, I wanted to ask you, man, just like, how have you been pivoting during COVID? Obviously, since March, you're out in California. You're in LA specifically on the Outer Banks, correct?
Right. I'm in Burbank, which is like where all the movie studios are. And I sublease office space from a media company. And basically the entire media world, movies and equipment rentals, anything to do with movies, completely shut down. Like you see parking lots that used to be empty, filled with thousands of trucks that are used in the movies, whether it's to carry equipment or porta potties or whatever, they're all parked. It was like a ghost town here. Like there was literally nobody out. I was the only one coming into work from our office. We went from an office like yours where we have, 10, 11, 12 people coming in every day to I'm the only one coming in overnight. Like take your computers, take your monitors home and start working from home. So it was challenging. I'm sure it was for you too. It's been tough.
And how is it now? Like, are you still? I mean, obviously, I see you at the office. By the way, I love the brick. That's
Thank you.
I love it. I'm like keep staring at it. So.
Yeah, it's a nice background and it is real.
I was gonna ask you. That's not wallpaper, right?
No, it's not wallpaper, and it's not virtual. So it's really there. It's been tough. And right now, we're in California, and we're in LA County, so people are really taking it serious. Unfortunately, a lot of this has kind of become political. So like Orange County, which is just south of us, a lot of people have been really upset about having to wear a mask. And there's been a lot of things, in the news about, protests and stuff like that. And then here in LA County, people tend to wear the mask. I wear a mask when I go to like the market or somewhere public, just out of respect. And it is public knowledge. I actually did have COVID already. And so it wasn't fun. And I know one way that you can help prevent that is by wearing a mask. So out of respect to others and also to protect myself, I wear a mask.
Sure, 100%. And you're at the office. Do you have your employees there, or are they still working remotely, virtually, or how's that?
Most of my employees are working remotely. That's pretty common here in LA, industry wide. I don't see them coming back anytime soon. Some of them, I've already told them, you're never coming back because the traffic is terrible. And why am I going to make them drive an hour and a half into my office and then drive an hour and a half back? And they have a husband or kids. It's like that's time they could spend with their family. And as long as they're getting their work done, I really don't care. And now with all the technology we have, we use Google Chat, we use Hangouts, and we talk all day. And it's kind of worked out better. I mean, that's been one of the positive things. Like, wow, we really can do this remotely with voice over IP and things like that. So right now, I only have 2 other people in the office, and we're spread out. We have about 20 feet between us all. So a lot of distance. I do require a mask if you come talk to me, or if I go talk to you, or if you go to the bathroom or common area, you got to wear a mask.
It's funny, like COVID's, everyone says like COVID, obviously, and like in our business, we talk about, I don't know if it's changed anything. I think it accelerated what the future was going to be, right? Like working remotely, that kind of concept. And now we're seeing it just kind of like being amplified. but it makes complete sense, right? And like in our business, we're still considered essential, I think, under the umbrella.
We are too. Yeah, we are essential. I mean, people still got to renew. I mean, right now we have all these fires going on. I mean, it's not like, oh, hey, it's COVID, we got to stop having fires. I mean, we're still having a ton of fires, ton of calls. I mean, we're an essential business. We're here to protect people. I mean, you know that more than anybody.
Dude, talk to me about the wildfires. It's like all these, whatever. Like I just feel like we're so insulated to really affects us, not affects other people. Like you're out, other part of the country. I'm in South Florida. Hurricanes affect me. I freak out, right? But just seeing things like you see the news, it looks, horrific. How's it affecting you guys, like your business? Like what's that like? I mean, for us, it seems like a bad movie.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a bad movie. I mean, where I live, which is nearby near these fires, I usually, one thing due to COVID is I now work out in the morning. So I'll go for a long walk, 5 miles, 4.5 miles. The other day I got up and I went outside and it smelled like a barbecue and it was like dark gray. And usually it'd be like a nice, bright California sunshiny day. And it was because of fires. I even drove to go take a look at the fires. I drove over there and it's about, 15 miles from my house and they're raging and there's really nothing these people, the firefighters can do, just set up a line and hope that fire doesn't cross that barrier. And we have dry brush, a lot of it. In Florida, it's flat. I mean, I go to Miami often, so I kind of keep tabs on the hurricanes and all that. But here we have flat area, and then it gets a little bit windy, and the ambers start to fly, and the ambers will land 5 or 6 miles away, and boom, now you have another fire. So it's been really challenging, especially with insurance. I mean, some companies had a county-wide moratorium, like so you could be in the middle of the city, but you're in LA County, they don't want to touch it right now. So remember, smoke damage is covered. So you might not be on the hillside in the brush, but you're a mile or two away. That smoke travels, and damages your home, or they file a claim. The insurance company is going to have to figure out whether to cover or not. I mean, it's really challenging. And as you know, all these losses, whether it's a hurricane or a fire, it affects rates.
Right.
It affects rates. The reinsurance market has skyrocketed, and rates here have zoomed up. Liability rates have excess liability rates, and fire rates have skyrocketed. And a lot of companies have flat out pulled out of the state. And in California, one of the big things is these millionaires, people that are building these homes in the middle of the forest, and finding insurance for these homes it's challenging. It's really, really challenging. We've had, in the last decade, we've had 68 million acres burn in California, and we've had 5 of the 6 largest fires in the history of California in the past 6 weeks. That's how much fires we've had.
Insane. So Let me ask you, going back to that, is it more of just, obviously companies are pulling out, so rates are going up just because supply and demand. There's not many companies willing to offer coverage.
That's right.
Is there a state pool in California?
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's a state pool. The problem with the state pool up until recently was that it would only cover like 1.5 million in total insurable value. In California, an entry home is like $1 million, and the cost to rebuild is very expensive here. I mean, a contractor with workers' comp and, all the insurances, I mean, it's going to be expensive to rebuild a home. So some of these homes that are like 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 square feet that are in the brush area, it's challenging finding them insurance. The other step is to go to a non-admitted carrier like a Lloyd's of London. And, I just quoted one the other day, and it was like $36,000 with Lloyd's of London. Fortunately, a friend of mine who's a State Farm agent, I referred him the customer. They were willing to write the business, and it was $9,000. So I gave the business away to a friend of mine. But had State Farm said no, there was literally no options but surplus lines because of the total insurable value of the property.
That's funny. Down here where I'm at, surplus lines is king. Right?
I know you. Yeah.
We speak 2 different languages, right? It's admitted.
We do.
And by the way, we can debate on both sides. It's funny. If I'm on each angle, I'll give you a reason why not to go. But what we talk about a lot too is, and then I think this goes in general, us being independent agents too. So many people talk about like who the company is. We preach all the time, like who's paying your claim. Like I think that's the most important part, right? I mean, people like, and the distribution of insurance and us being on the front lines, like our insureds, right? They call you, they trust Paul Diaz Jr. They trust me, and then we got to go to two different levels, sometimes a third, sometimes a fourth level, a third party TPA who's going to look at a claim. That's where we get in trouble. So many times, like we start to lead with like, okay, it's great, A plus 15, right, or A plus 10, non-admitted, admitted. Who's going to pay your claim? I think that's like one of those lead questions that's starting to we're leading with, and then the conversation's starting to shift.
Well, as you know, a lot of that depends on the relationship that the broker has with the carrier, how hard the broker pushes. Like the other day, I got involved in a claim with the carrier, and I got nasty. And the guy called me a minute later. I threatened that they were going to hire an attorney, Department of Insurance, and finally they paid out, as they should have months ago. They should have paid out months ago. And they finally paid out. But sometimes you really got to get nasty. You got to call your marketing rep, and a lot of it will depend on how much business do you bring that company.
Right.
It's a lot of relationship, and you're right. It's like who is paying your claims. One of the people ask me, well, what's the best life insurance policy? The best life insurance policy is the one that is enforced the day you die. That is the best life insurance policy.
Who's going to be around? Yeah.
Right. Same thing with the claim. What is the best insurance? The best insurance is a company that is going to pay when you have a loss. So as a broker, your job and my job is to locate those companies that are giving great coverage, good service, and at a competitive price. Am I always the cheapest? No, that's not my goal. My goal is to offer you protection if something happens. If you want the cheapest, maybe sometimes I am, maybe not, but I'm going to go with what I think is best to protect you. If I cost $10 more a month, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that goes to one thing. I think there's too many. I think there's too many of us, right? Too many insurance agents.
Oh yeah.
There's too many of us, and so many of us. The majority, the 90% percentile, like we're very like-minded. I mean, there's enough business to go on for everybody, but we're going to do the right thing. And then you got the 10% that sell, take the shortcut, and then that's where we kind of get the bad rep, kind of get in trouble.
I mean, it's kind of like going to the doctor, right? You have something wrong with you, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor tells you, hey, you're really sick, you have a terminal disease. You go to another doctor, he tells you the same thing. And then you go to the third doctor, he says, oh, don't worry about it. You're not sick, you're fine, just take some medicine, you're okay. It's like some people do that. They call like 5 brokers until they get the answer that they want, even though it's completely wrong. And I mean, personally, I think like the continuing education that, you can get a license in a week. Study for a week, take a test, now you're an insurance broker.
Right.
I mean, there needs to be more education. I mean, I've been doing this now 20 years, so I've learned a lot. Unfortunately, the tough way, like a loss is not covered,
sure.
Or just by bumps and bruises. I'm sure you have too.
Right.
And I look at some of these policies, I'm like, wow, you're way underinsured, or this is way off. And I lose business sometimes because of that. But I'd rather be honest, because when there's a claim,
it's like that. Doing the right thing and saying the right thing sometimes is a long-term approach. It's a longer term. Like when you're trying to build your agency, like you are, like we are, like you're trying to build, you don't take shortcuts. Shortcuts is those are the pitfalls. But saying the right thing, being honest with people. It's so funny, man. And like in our business, people make it so complicated. I'm like, just pick up the phone, tell the truth. Like, and honestly, in our business, sometimes that bad news is gonna come. Give it early. Be upfront. Be proactive. Like you do that, man, you're gonna be successful.
Yeah, I agree. I had a claim yesterday. Over the weekend, someone broke into a home that was under construction. Well, we only have building coverage. We don't have contents coverage. And so a bunch of appliances got stolen. Now, some of these appliances were bolted to the building, so who knows what's going to happen, but there's no personal property coverage. And I just I told my client up front, hey, I really don't know if this is something that's going to be covered. We should file a claim and see what happens, but I just want to be upfront with you. You got to kind of tame the expectations sometimes right up front.
For sure.
On something like that.
No, it's so much. My biggest gripe, again, and for the record, I love the insurance industry. We're in it, but so much like we're such a reactive in general. like things are covered until they're not, and if something happens and we kind of evolve. And I just feel like that tends to be the norm. Like we just react. Like we're not
Yeah, I know
proactive.
it's constantly changing. Carriers are coming in and now, like now, what's going to happen in the future with pandemics? Like, is that going to be covered under business income? I mean,
Yeah.
now it's not, but they're floating that around like, you know, on terrorism, right? You got to add that with for an additional premium. They'll cover terrorism on surplus lines. Some admitted carriers include it, but are they going to have that option now, like pandemic coverage, as an addition? You know, is that another box you check and pay an additional amount to have coverage for?
It's going to have to be. It's going to have to be federally backed, just for insurance companies to offer it. The issue with pandemics, you know it too. Like with the BI, there's the indemnity is so long you can't like look what we're going through now, right?
Yeah,
There's no end, right? So how do you underwrite it? How do you analytically try to charge for it? It's
it'll bankrupt companies,
yeah.
insurance companies. I mean, it would bankrupt them. And we filed probably about 20 or 30 claims for business income. I've explained to the client it's not covered,
How many have
but
been paid? How many have been paid? Yeah,
zero,
yeah.
not a single one.
I mean, we've done the same thing, right? I mean, we've been empathetic. It's like tell everybody, like, look, let's look at it. You have the facts. Let's file it. Truth is, this has never happened, at least in our lifetime. It's kind of unprecedented, but it is what it is. I mean, the intent of those policies were not to cover that, and insurance
I,
companies are going to have the leg up.
yeah, I mean, I remember when this started. It's like, okay, a couple weeks, and it's like we're going now on, you know, it's going to be a while. And like you said, no end in sight right now. You know, no vaccine, and we're still learning a lot of new things about this virus. So
Let me ask you one thing. When we talked before, like even during COVID, like you're in an acquisition mode, like
yeah.
you're acquiring other agencies. Tell me what's that like, because I mean I've never gone through that. I'm sure some people might be interested in that as well. Like you've done it a few times. What's kind of your thought process on your model to grow your agency?
So I've never done it up until about, you know, I've done it a few times, like very small books of business, like super tiny, like 20 or 30 grand in commissions. And about 3 years ago exactly, a marketing rep came in and was like, how come you don't send us business? And I'm like, well, I don't like your, you know, I was kind of giving him the reasons why I don't send them business. And then I just said to him, hey, if you know anyone selling their book, let me know. And he was walking out the door. He turned around and says, actually, I know someone. You guys might be a good fit. And so he ended up connecting us, and I purchased that book of business. It's a niche program. It mainly focuses on retail liquor stores. So we insure about 700 retail liquor stores, and it's been a home run. I mean, it's great clientele. It's a niche product. It's really hard to beat me. I have a leg up on the competition. And so that's why I did that.
Well,
And
let me ask
then,
you, what on that specific acquisition, is it more of the book of business or the niche product? Like, what drove you to kind of do that?
it was kind of the niche product. The niche product kind of drew me to it. I mean, I'm Cuban American. These clients are Syrian American. So I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if they're gonna, you know, like me or not." But it turns out, you know, they're great people. I did my homework on them. I called around and asked about, you know, how do Syrians work, and it's been amazing. I mean, I almost feel like I'm Syrian myself now because I deal with them and their community. It's a very tight knit community in LA. It's a small community, very tight knit, and it's been a blessing, to be honest with you.
Paul, let me speaking of that, like, you know, and anything like just being able to adapt, right? Like, and you work, I felt like I always worked in a multicultural place, like South Florida, but it's mainly Hispanic, right? Just, but
Right.
different, you know, and if you don't understand, there's different cultures within the Hispanic community. So every country's different, right? For those people in Middle America, they're actually in other Latin American countries. It's not just Mexico going down to like
Right.
the south of Argentina, right? Just for the record. But
Yeah.
you know, me thinking like I got to do a certain, be able to kind of adapt. Like you're out in California, LA specifically, like not only the Hispanic community. Like I just think about that now. How do you kind of pivot to even you have multi-dimensional culture type
Yeah,
of
no, it's something you got to definitely consider. I'll give you an example. In the liquor stores, it's dominated by three cultures: Syrians, Indians, and Koreans. It doesn't mean that there's not other people, but there's a heavy, like, there's a lot of Korean business owners that own liquor stores, and they like to deal with Korean insurance brokers that speak their language.
It's a trust level. Yeah, it's a trust level. You buy insurance with people you feel comfortable with. So
yeah, they might go to the same church and stuff like that. I mean, I don't speak Korean, and so it makes it a little bit challenging. We do have some Korean clients, but not as much. And then we do have a lot of Indian clients, but there's also like a lot of people in their community that are also insurance brokers. So they might not have the same product I have or as good of a product, but they're familiar, they like them, and so know, like, trust, and so they'll go with them. But yeah, I mean, LA is a huge melting pot. So is Miami. I mean, I consider Miami the capital of Latin America, but here I think it's a little more. The diversity is a little bit. It's not so much. It's more than just Hispanic. You got all walks of life,
anybody and everybody.
Yeah, so it does present a challenge. So I had to do my homework. Is there anyone else in this community that's an insurance broker? Like, are they going to say, hey, thank you, I was with Norm, so the prior owner so long, but my buddy's a broker, I'm going to go. So I was really worried about that, and I don't speak Arabic, so that worried me. But I did my due diligence and I pulled the trigger. And I think in life, as a business owner, you and I know this, you got to play to win. You got to play to win. If you're playing to not lose, you end up losing.
Yeah.
You got to play to win. I mean, how many times do you see a team like this weekend, the Falcons and Cowboys? Falcons are way up, and then they start playing kind of conservative. Next thing you know, the Cowboys recover the onside kick, bam, because the Falcons weren't playing to win. They started running the ball all the time. So you got to play to win. So
it's the prevent. Don't play prevent defense.
You gotta be aggressive. And then the second book I bought was a friend of mine that was getting out of the business, and I know him. I know his clients. I already kind of had familiarity with the clients and with the book. So I just said, hey, I'll pay you a deposit and finance it for me over a couple of years, and I'll pay you back. And he said, sure, no problem. So that was a slam dunk. And I close on another book of business October 1st.
And now, so like next week.
Yeah, next week. So that's a little more challenging because it's high-end homeowners. It's further away from my office that I'm at now, so I'll have to be doing some commuting. But it's a very good book of business. Comes with an established employee that's been there a long time and is familiar with the clients. And the agent is staying on board as a producer for me. So he just doesn't want to be on the front lines anymore. Doing the accounting. Why did my policy go up $10? Why did this? Why? He kind of wants to just sell and be, not deal with employees and be on the front lines type of thing.
Right. So I mean, but that and that, I mean, now that's 3 acquisitions. That's part of. I mean, well, let me take a step back. Like being in LA, right? Like we both live in big cities. You live in much bigger.
Yeah.
How do you what's kind of like, how do you stand out? Like you being independent, your own brand, like. What's kind of like your tip to like be able to stand out in Los Angeles?
I'm part of a really high-end networking group with kind of shrinks down LA. So it's called Provisors. I don't think they have it in Miami yet. I'm sure eventually they will. So that's helped out. And then just word of mouth and knowing your niche. Like my niche is small businesses. You won't see me try to go after a company with like 1,000 employees. Everyone, all the big boys go after that, and you spend tons of time on it, and then at the end of the day, they end up going with Gallagher or something like that, and you're like, oh, I just wasted all that time, manpower, money, etc. So I really try to focus on the markets I'm good at, which are small business owners and individuals or home in their auto, and a lot of it is just word of mouth, letting everyone know what you do. Social media, which I'm not as good as, not even close to you guys. I applaud you, and you guys actually inspire me. People think it's dumb, but you actually do get a lot of business. Every time I do a post, I'll talk about life insurance or I'll talk about something that happened. I'll get 1 or 2 solid leads from those posts. So it's something I need to do a little bit more of.
Yeah, it's funny that and we're doing it now, which is critical, right? The whole social media aspect, it's just that, for us and you do a good job too, man, that's how we connect. We stay connected. I think that's the intention of this. So many people kind of look at it like, and I like to always use the word attention platform. Like if you think about it, everybody's on the phone. TV's done, right? We're looking at it. You're on the phone.
100%.
And if you're not in sales, like we're salespeople at the core, and you want attention, and if you're not on social media, or at least being proactive, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
Like the point is, right? And like in our goal, we want to provide value. We want to be able to kind of, stand out. I like this because I think you can, if you do it the right way, like we're doing it, you can connect with people. Like I can tell you now, I've met people via social media, and I never would have thought. I mean, people in New York, agents, right? Insurance agents, Georgia, New York, Alabama. I mean, across the country, in Colorado, just having conversations and just this kind of breaks down barriers. This is the future. At the same time, isn't it better if people call you? Like we're salespeople, right? Like isn't that the goal? Hey, by the way, right? I think if you want to, people say, we're going to go fishing. Like I'd rather have the fish chase the boat. And
that'd be great. Yeah, no, I would love that. But, a lot of times I know I'm not doing my job when someone says, oh, I didn't know you did that. I would have gone with you. And it's like, oh, that's my bad.
And then they say that's my fault, right? They put you, and I think like being an independent agent, that's one of the biggest challenges too, because we offer so many different product, the different matrix from personal to commercial, employee benefits, life insurance. And sometimes like you solve one specific problem. I talk about this all the time. Like we were talking with our producers is we focus on the sale because that's kind of our goal. And we do the sale, client moves on. Instead of taking a few steps back and look at the entire picture. That client leaves like Paul Diaz helping my workers' comp, you're a workers' comp guru, but then the rest of the package is somebody else. And we kind of let that, we focus so much on the upfront sale that we lose the macro picture of insurance. And it's something I got to get better at. I think the best people in our business slow down, take a step back, and look at the entire package.
Yeah, and I've noticed too, as I've kind of progressed, I turn down a lot of clients. Like if it's going to be something that's going to be labor intensive, a small amount of premium, and I'm going to be doing 100 search for them a year, maybe not a fit for my agency.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's important too. That's important, Paul. Just like right as you grow, not chasing the sale, but looking at like what fits your specific niche, right? Your specific agency, your workflow. There's a thing too. Like sometimes you got to say no because, and not to be fair. And every client's important, but it's just you're right. It's a matter of fit. Like there's sometimes you might take on a client, and taking on that client and taking away your infrastructure, your attention, your service might be a disservice to the other 80%, right? Like so, it's like. If you're taking away value from other clients, yeah, you're right. It might not be a fit, but that takes like a lot of confidence. That takes, like you taking the licks, right? Getting punched in the mouth for 15 years and figuring out.
Right.
Not a disrespectful way, but saying, hey, this is not maybe a right fit, but I can refer X. And there's a place for everybody. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like we have a client now and they're great clients, and we probably do literally about 5 or 6 certs a week, and we make $100 a year commission. So we're doing 200 plus certificates, and of course, everyone wants everything yesterday. Hurry up! I need it like right this second. I'm at the gates, and it's like,
they won't let me in the building without my workers' comp certificate.
Right. So I mean, next year when the renewal comes up, I'm going to say, hey, I got to work something out with you where you're going to pay me a little bit more.
Charge them a fee. 100%.
Yeah, charge you a fee. Just FYI, or I can refer you to someone else. But fortunately we've been blessed, and like you said, with years of experience, you start I remember you see these brokers, our minimum premium is $5,000. I'm like, oh man, these guys are crazy. But now I get it.
It's funny. Yeah. The not the mindset, but the conversation is different from saying they're crazy to like, does it make sense? But I mean, because you start to look at value, right? You got to look at what makes sense. And it's such a weird, it's not coming from a bad place either. It's going to like, I don't want to do a disservice to my other customers. Like, is the service going to drop down because so much attention goes to X? And it's a difficult conversation to have with some clients.
I mean, service is king in our bit. I mean, the number one complaint we get when people switch is my broker never calls me back.
100%.
That's number one, or they don't answer the phone. I mean, that's number one. So
I tell you, service, and it just seems so simple. Like we had a company Zoom call today. We're just talking about it. We're always trying to get better. And everyone's saying, hey, is our service good? Service is good, but that's not what we strive for. I mean, we want to be great. Especially like doing this stuff, like Paul, like you're the face of your agency. You're going to go out there, meet somebody, You're gonna tell them, you come with me, my firm, you're gonna get the best service. Like you're putting yourself out there. And if like that message doesn't fall down to your team, I feel like a hypocrite.
Yeah, and I
I
mean,
just lose all sense of, that's not what I told you.
well, the worst part is a lot of these people you personally know, right? It could be a dad that owns a business at the school your kids go to. So you show up to an event and they're like, hey, I called you last week and you didn't call me back. And it's like, wait, you called me? Oh, no one gave, then it's like, I come in here and I'm fired up. We have a weekly meeting on Monday morning. I'm like, guys, this guy, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Right. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, that's the worst part when you're dealing with family and friends. It's like, you bump into them at parties and they're going to start, hey, you never call me back, or, it's like, oh man.
Hey, how much insurance do you talk on Thanksgiving? What's that like?
All day. Of course. That's all I talk about, right? That's all
Hey, I walk in, I have a bunch of cousins and everyone's like, hey, and it's just, I know one person brings it up and no one's happy, right? Rates are up, personal line specifically. I mean, everything's going up. Everyone got an increase and that's it. It's like I got to wear the catcher's equipment. They're baseball guys. I got to come.
That's right. That's right.
The catching gear, like blocking.
Hey, Lewis is expensive. Oh, Lewis, you got a new car. Is it because my insurance premium went up? I see how it is.
That is. That's the one day where I think this year. Oh well, again, we can't travel, COVID. But if COVID wasn't around, this would be the year that I think I'd probably go take a vacation on Thanksgiving. Hey, Mom, we'll sit this one out this year.
That's right. But it is, it's tough when you deal with family, and you don't want to let them down either. So like if a claim gets denied or something, you feel bad.
It's also an issue too. Like what's also a lot of it's not even in our control, right? Like that is the stuff that I dislike about this industry, which I love so much. But it's you talk to one underwriter, one MGA, one broker, they tell you X, you got the information, but then it doesn't go as planned, and then they hide behind. I think that's the biggest issue with surplus lines companies, right? There's no relationship. You're dealing with MGAs, you're dealing with the actual brokers, and like customers can't call them directly. That's why I think admitted companies have a little bit of a heads up where they're more involved in that process. It's less of a layer. Like if farmers issues a claim or something happens, they're going to call them directly. You go to NGA, you're going to 2 different layers, so that there's a little bit of a less of
there's no less personal touch.
Yeah, there's less personal touch. There's less of an urgency to figure stuff out because they're not going to be held accountable.
Well, and the worst thing is when you get that phone call and it's like, hey, I've been insured with you for 15 years. I've never filed a claim. Why aren't they covering this leak? It's like, well, your pipes are like 50 years old and it's been leaking for the last 6 months. I mean, what can I do on that? So I get that all the time. I'm sure you do too. I've never filed a claim 30 years, and it's like, I'm sorry, so.
My job, I think our job can be best described as professionally apologizing for things that are out of our control. That's basically it.
Yeah, you're just kind of massaging things. Just hope, like.
We're doing politics, man. I don't do that either. But technically, we're political. Technically.
Yeah, you gotta be a little bit. You gotta know how to kind of smooth.
What's up with the East Coast West Coast bias? Are we gonna squash that beef on here, or East Coast West Coast?
All I gotta say is you better be ready. If your Miami Heat make it to the finals, because I know my Lakers will be there, and I have a nice bet for you. We're not gonna talk about it now until our teams make it.
Oh, you want to jinx it? I'm good with that.
I'm rooting for the Heat.
Okay, rooting for the Heat, rooting for the Lakers. We could do a little East Coast, West Coast bait.
Part of the bet will be dinner for sure next time we see each other, whether it's in Miami or LA or somewhere else. And then we'll have a little fun.
Well, whatever it is, please tell me. We'll meet up at Vegas whenever we can.
And
then we can tell, hey, both our wives are named Lisa. Then we can tell the Lisas, like, hey, look, it's a bet. That's a bet. I'm a man of my word. So regardless what happens, we will meet up at Vegas and discuss the results of the bet. We're going to back into that.
We'll have a mastermind in Vegas. I mean, it's a good way to talk insurance and think about insurance and improve. And we got to bring Fernie out. He's never been to Vegas, I understand.
He has not. He's admitted it. Even though everyone says Vegas is like the best thing about Vegas, the best feeling is when you get there, when you leave. right? It's like the best.
You can only be in Vegas for so long, like 48 hours, and you're good. You know, sports book, do some betting on football and stuff. You hit it hard. You go out. You're drinking. You're eating great dinners, and 48 hours is that's you're good. Time to go home.
Especially when you get older, like when you get into the third and the fourth floor. Fourth 40 is the fourth floor. Once you get to the fourth floor, you got to pace yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually go night one. I'm fired up. Bam! I hit it hard. Then the next day I'm like, whoa, I went a little too hard. Then I calm down, have a nice dinner, glass of wine, maybe a few drinks. And then by midnight, 1 a.m., I'm done. I got to go to sleep. Sunday, I wake up. Oh, I feel a little bit better. Sports book, and then I go home.
We don't recover, man. We don't recover as we used to at all.
No, we don't. Not anymore.
Dude, little thing, man. By the way, this could be maybe the paparazzi might be at your office. We're doing a little Zoom call, a little coffee with guys. Hey, if that happens, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. I don't want to.
I know you. I sometimes I wonder. I'm like, is he an insurance broker, or is that just a front? Like, I think he's more like an actor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm just waiting to show up to LA when they say, Paul, I wasn't really a broker. This has all been an act. I'm now,
Well, now they know you have a studio in your office.
Oh,
now I might get the media team, man. We'll fly out there and do a little.
Just come on down. I mean, right? I mean, they filmed The Voice right down the street. I see a lot of times like some of the stars and all that. They do all kinds of filming here. I mean, you'd fit right in, Louis.
I tell you, I'm there, Paul. If I had that George Clooney look, if I had that look, that salt and pepper, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be there.
I think I could see you on the next Dos Equis commercial. It's one of the most interesting men. I could see that happening for sure.
I actually, instead of Dos Equis, we'll do the Pellegrino.
Oh, that's right, Pellegrino. I forgot.
This is who I'm waiting to call back. I want this one. They're calling me back soon. My phone, I'm always checking.
That's hilarious.
Dude, first, I appreciate you doing this. Number one, I wish you the best. I know this is crazy for all of us. It's good to connect, especially via Zoom. Like, there's no reason. We haven't seen each other in a couple of years, I think now.
Yeah, it's been actually 2 years exactly. We went to lunch last time I was in Florida, which was not this summer, but the summer before.
I mean, I'm looking forward to do that again.
A little bit over a year.
I mean, I wish you the best. I appreciate you. Stay safe out there with the wildfires. I look forward to reconnecting once this Heat and Lakers.
Yeah, let's do this again if the Lakers and Heat match up. And no, likewise. I mean, it's been fun. I remember, 5 years ago, or even before that, before JAG existed, I know you were in the industry, and now watching you grow and your company grow. And I mean, every time I show up to your office, like, wow, they got like 10 more people, 20 more people. So I'm really excited for you guys. It pushes me too. And I really enjoy all the content you guys put out there. And I think this is a great way to help each other. And there's other brokers out there that also, help other brokers. And that's how you learn and get better. And
that's what we're all about, man. We're on this together. And whatever we can do to help each other, we're going to do it. We've even, right? Like, just as an example.
We've done business. I mean,
we've done business together. There's been clients we referred out in Los Angeles and vice versa, Miami. And It's all organic.
Yeah.
Look what it is, man. We're in this together. The insurance industry is not for everybody. I'm glad you're in it. I just feel like it's just something else we could connect even more about. But I'm excited about your future too, man. Seeing you grow. I really am.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited, and we're both. Let's kill it, and definitely got to meet in Vegas. I'll start asking now, dropping the hints to the wife, and get the hall pass hopefully, and hopefully we're talking in a couple, in a week or two about the Lakers and the Heat. I got a good bet.
I'm gonna email you my PowerPoint presentation of how to get to Vegas. I've been working on it for a while, but now first page I'm gonna insert Paul Diaz Heat Lakers bet. I have the 80% done. I just needed that excuse. I was waiting for a bachelor party, but all my friends are married, so that was like, that's out the window.
That's out the window. I mean, at our age now, you're going to divorce parties. I mean, unfortunately, it's not something to be proud of, but any excuse to get together.
Well, I appreciate you, man, and thanks for doing this. I really do. And
Got it.
We'll talk soon.
Got it. Take care.
Thanks, Paul.